Want to know the most powerful secret to make that person you desire seek you out without you having to chase them? In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly how to get others to gravitate toward you naturally, almost magnetically, and all without appearing to try at all. You're about to discover why some people seem to attract everyone around them, while others always end up chasing and never being chased. What you're about to learn will completely transform how you relate to others, and more importantly, how they perceive you. Because there's a truth that few understand. Attraction isn't forced, it's provoked, and today you'll learn exactly how to do it. There's a fundamental principle that Neil Strauss discovered after years of studying human psychology. And it's this: when you chase, you move away. When you move away, they chase you. It seems contradictory, but the reality is that human beings value what's difficult to obtain and undervalue what's easily available. It's human nature, and once you understand how it works, you can use it to your advantage. The first crucial element for getting others to seek you out is learning to control your emotional reactions. Think about it for a moment. What happens when someone provokes you and you react immediately? You're giving away your power. Every time you respond impulsively to a comment, a look, or a situation that doesn't go as expected, you're showing that they can affect you, that they have control over you. Neil Strauss explained it perfectly. The person who appears more affected in an interaction is the one with less power. It's a simple power equation. When you react, you lose. When you remain unshakable, you win. Has it ever happened to you that someone ignored you and suddenly you felt more interested in that person? Or that someone who used to be attentive to you stopped being so and you started wondering what was happening? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Emotional reaction creates dependency, and dependency never attracts. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel the urge to immediately respond to a message, wait. Let at least an hour pass. Observe what happens when you're not instantly available. Does the other person start wondering where you are? Do they start looking for you more? This is how you begin to reverse the dynamic. Repeat this phrase every morning. Today, I will not react. Today, I will respond strategically. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is impulsive, response is calculated. If you really want others to seek you out, you must train your mind to pause before acting. Ask yourself, does this really deserve my energy? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Because when you stop reacting to everything, you become unreachable, and the unreachable is always more desired. Imagine this. Someone tries to provoke you, seeks an emotional reaction from you, but you simply look at them calmly with a slight smile. Your face doesn't change, your energy remains intact. In that moment, you're invincible. You've shown that they can't touch you, that you're above their games, and that is irresistibly attractive. If you haven't hit the notification bell, do it right now to receive more content like this that will transform your social and emotional life. And we'll talk about that in the next point, because there's a second vital element you need to understand if you want others to seek you out effortlessly, and it has to do with the power of letting go. There's a paradox in human relationships that Neil Strauss discovered, and that changes all the rules of the game. The more you cling to someone, the less they'll value you. The more willing you are to let them go, the more they'll want to stay. Attachment is the greatest weakness you can show, and it's precisely what makes others move away from you. Why does this happen? Because attachment creates pressure, and pressure kills attraction. When you cling to someone, that person feels the weight of your expectations, feels they have power over you because they know they have you. And what we have secured, we don't value. Think about the times you've desperately wanted something. Maybe it was a person, a job, or an opportunity. Did you notice how the more you wanted it, the harder it seemed to get? And conversely, do you remember a time when you got something almost without wanting it, just because you were willing to let it go? That's the magic of letting go. Neil Strauss expressed it brilliantly. Real power isn't in getting what you want, but in being willing to lose it all. When you're not afraid to lose, you become untouchable, and that's magnetic. Here's the exercise that will change your relational dynamic. Identify something or someone you're attached to right now. It could be a relationship, an idea about how things should be, or even an expectation about yourself. Now, visualize what your life would be like if you let it go completely. Don't think about losing it, but about freeing yourself from it. Can you feel the lightness, the sensation of freedom? When you learn to let go, something surprising happens. People start coming closer to you. Why? Because you project an energy of abundance instead of scarcity. You don't need anyone specific because you know there are infinite possibilities. And that abundance mindset is like a magnet for others. The truth is that nothing you have to beg to stay is worth it. Nothing you have to force is really yours. Anything that costs you peace of mind is too expensive. People with the greatest power of attraction have learned to let go quickly. They don't stay where they aren't valued. They don't insist where there's no respect anymore. They're not afraid to lose because they know that what's meant for them will never need to be forced. There's a phrase you should repeat whenever you feel you're clinging too much. I trust that what's for me will come without effort, because that's the truth. Nothing that's really destined for you will need to be retained with desperation. Have you ever wondered why the most attractive people seem to have a take it or leave it attitude? It's because they've mastered the art of letting go. They don't try to control the outcomes, they simply offer their best version and are willing to walk away if they're not valued. The next time you feel the need to insist where you're not valued, do the opposite, walk away. Observe what happens when you don't run after what wants to leave. You'll be surprised to discover that most of the time when you let go, the universe rewards you with something better, or that same person returns, but now on your terms. If you still doubt whether something or someone should continue in your life, do this. Imagine they're already gone. Observe how you feel with that idea. If you feel peace instead of anxiety, you already have your answer. Many times the problem isn't the attachment itself, but the resistance to accepting the obvious. You can't cling to something that isn't meant to stay with you. When you master the art of letting go, your energy changes radically. You no longer live in a state of lack, but of abundance. People perceive you differently because the confidence of someone who isn't afraid to lose is magnetic. You have more control over your life because you stop clinging to what doesn't make you feel good. If this content is helping you, share it with someone you think could benefit from it. We all know someone who needs to hear these truths. And we'll talk about that in the next point, because there's a third element that will turn you into someone everyone wants to seek out, and it's the power of silence and mystery. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and constantly validated, the one who knows how to stay quiet and remain reserved has an incomparable advantage. Not revealing too much, not reacting impulsively, and not giving unnecessary explanations turns you into someone others can't easily decipher. And what they can't decipher intrigues them. Neil Strauss discovered this by studying the most charismatic people. Mystery is the fundamental component of attraction. When someone knows everything about you, there's nothing more to discover, and interest dies. Think of it this way. When you watch a movie, what keeps you glued to the screen? Uncertainty, not knowing what will happen next. The same occurs in human relationships. When you're an open book, when you tell everything about yourself from the first moment, when you explain each of your decisions, you become predictable. And the predictable, by definition, isn't exciting. Most people have no control over what they say. They talk too much, over-explain, try to justify themselves, and every unnecessary word is information that others can use against them or, worse still, that diminishes your perceived value. Have you noticed that the people we admire most tend to be the most reserved? Not because they have nothing to say, but because they carefully choose when and what to say. They're aware of the power of their words and the impact of their silence. Here's a transformative exercise. For 1 week, reduce your explanations by half. If you would normally give 5 reasons to justify a decision, give only 2. If you would normally tell your whole story in the first encounter, save half for later. Observe how the dynamic changes when you leave space for curiosity. The less you reveal, the more control you have. Silence protects you. Not everyone needs to know what you think. Not everyone deserves access to your inner life. When you start talking less and observing more, you begin to see the hidden game behind every conversation. When you stay silent, you become more unpredictable. No one knows what you're really thinking, and that gives you a strategic advantage. Others respect you more because someone who doesn't explain everything all the time projects a confidence that's almost magnetic. Plus, listening more and talking less allows you to identify the hidden intentions of others. While they reveal themselves, you observe and learn. This is an invaluable skill in any type of social interaction. Have you ever noticed how some leaders speak little, but when they do, everyone listens? It's because they've understood the value of strategic silence. Their words have weight precisely because they're scarce. Don't reveal your plans until they're already in motion. Many people fail because they announce their moves before executing them. Don't announce, just do it. Don't explain your decisions. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone. If you made a decision, stand firm and let the results speak for themselves. Mystery isn't only in what you say, but in how you behave. A neutral face, a confident look, and pauses before speaking generate more impact than 1,000 words. Learn to enjoy silence. Don't fill every moment with unnecessary words. Truly powerful people feel comfortable in silence because they know they don't need to prove anything. Make people wonder more about you. Don't tell everything immediately. Leave space for curiosity. Interest increases when there's something to discover. Be aware of the power of the pause. When someone asks you an uncomfortable question, don't respond immediately. Take a moment to think, to measure the terrain. That pause makes others feel that what you're going to say has weight and value. Don't share your weaknesses with just anyone. People can use that information against you. Make sure those who have access to your vulnerability are people who truly deserve it. When you control your information and don't reveal everything immediately, people start to see you differently. Some will feel uncomfortable because they can't read your intentions. Others will admire you because you project a confidence that few have. And some will try to decipher you because the unknown is always more attractive than the predictable. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this is the perfect moment to do so. That way you won't miss any content that could change your life like this one. And we'll talk about that in the next point, because there's a fourth element that makes people really want to seek you out, and it's the power of prioritizing yourself. Most people live putting others first. They do everything to please, to fit in, to be accepted. And this is the mistake that makes them weak, because every time you put yourself last, you give someone else control over your life. Neil Strauss explains it brilliantly. The paradox of attractiveness is that the more you care about what others think of you, the less attractive you become. The more you prioritize yourself, the more others desire you. The problem is that we've been taught to feel guilty for thinking about ourselves. Since we were little, we've been told that being selfish is wrong, that we should give, that we should sacrifice. But there's a big difference between being selfish and having self-love. Selfishness is demanding without giving. Self-love is giving, but without allowing yourself to be drained. And here's the key. When you start prioritizing yourself, people perceive you differently. You stop being an easy option. You stop being someone they can use when it suits them. You become someone with standards, and people respect those who have standards. Think about this. If you constantly sacrifice your time, your energy, and your well-being for others without receiving the same in return, what are you communicating? That your value is less than theirs, that your time is less important, that your needs are secondary. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've been in relationships where you were always the one who called, who organized the meetings, who adapted to the other's schedule. And, paradoxically, the more you did, the less valued your presence was. Here's a revolutionary exercise. Learn to say no without explanations. You don't have to justify why you don't want to do something. A simple "no thank you" is enough. At first it will be uncomfortable, especially if you've spent your whole life pleasing others. But over time, you'll notice how your perceived value increases. Stop giving without reciprocity. If you notice that you're always the one who gives, who makes the effort, who puts in all the work, stop. Observe who's really there for you and who only appears when they need something. Cut off access to those who don't value you. Not all people deserve a place in your life. If someone only appears when they need something, remove them from your circle. Invest time in yourself before others. Don't put anyone above your peace of mind. If something drains you more than it gives you, it's not worth it. Get rid of the guilt for prioritizing yourself. You don't owe your time or energy to anyone. If someone gets upset because you put yourself first, that person was benefiting from you neglecting yourself. Have you ever noticed that the most desired people, those everyone wants to have around, are precisely those who have clear boundaries? They're not available 24/7. They have their own priorities, and they don't change their plans for just anyone. It's more proof that when you value yourself, the world values you. If you still doubt how prioritizing can change your life, do this experiment. For a week, say no to something you really don't want to do without feeling guilty. Observe how people react when you stop being always available. Give yourself time just for you without external interruptions. Reflect on how many times a day you act out of commitment rather than real desire. You'll see that something surprising happens. Those who truly value you will respect your space and boundaries. Those who only wanted you for convenience will move away. And that's exactly what you want. When you start prioritizing yourself, people treat you differently. People who value you will stay and respect you even more. Those who were only there for convenience will disappear, and those who previously took you for granted will suddenly feel like they're losing you. But here's the key. When you give yourself the value you deserve, the world gives it back to you. And there's an even higher level you must reach, a total transformation of your presence. It's not just about prioritizing, but about radiating an energy that makes the world perceive you in a completely different way. And we'll talk about that in the next point, because there's a fifth element that completes this process and will take you to a level where the entire world will want to seek you out. When a person really masters the four previous points, their energy changes completely. They're no longer someone who begs, who chases, or who lets themselves be dragged by what others want. They're someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to lose what isn't good for them. Neil Strauss discovered that truly magnetic people possess a quality he called independent reality. That is, they live in their own world, following their own rules, without need for external validation. And paradoxically, the more independent your reality is, the more people want to be part of it. People who have reached this level have developed a presence that's felt. It's not something that's said, it's something that's perceived. When you enter a room, others can notice the difference. You don't need validation, you don't need approval, and because of that, suddenly you start receiving more respect, admiration, and more opportunities. There's a fundamental truth you must understand. People respect those who aren't afraid to lose anything. When you reach this level, the way others perceive you changes radically. Think about this. Have you ever known someone who doesn't need anything from anyone, and for some reason, everyone wants to be close to that person? That's because independence is attractive. When you're someone who stands on their own, people stop taking you for granted. Those who previously ignored you start seeking you out. Opportunities come without you having to force them. Your presence becomes stronger without needing to say anything. Truly magnetic people don't have to prove anything. They don't seek to impress. They don't seek attention. But somehow they end up standing out. Why? Because self-confidence is magnetic. Look at the difference. Someone who seeks approval talks too much, tries to be liked, wants to be well received. Someone who is unreachable simply is present, with a firm energy, without the need to prove anything. And here's the key point. When you reach this level, people start treating you as someone worth knowing. It's no longer you who chases opportunities, it's opportunities that chase you. But reaching this level is one thing, maintaining it is another. Here are 3 keys to ensure you never go back to being a person others can handle or manipulate. First, never put anyone above your peace. If someone makes you doubt your value, that person doesn't deserve a place in your life. Second, don't explain or justify yourself. When you make a decision, stand firm. You don't have to convince anyone that you're doing the right thing. Third, surround yourself with people who also have this mindset. If you surround yourself with insecure people who depend on validation, it's a matter of time before they drag you back into that cycle. When you're truly magnetic, social dynamics change in your favor. People who previously ignored you now seek you out. Those who thought they could manipulate you now feel uncomfortable in your presence. Opportunities start coming without you looking for them because people detect the energy of someone who knows their worth. Want an exercise to maintain this state? For a week, observe who tries to get your attention and ask yourself if they really deserve it. Every time you feel the need to explain or justify yourself, stop and keep silent. Eliminate any behavior that indicates desperation to be accepted. Each night, reflect on whether today you acted from security or from the need for validation. When you finally reach this point, the world responds differently. People admire you but don't fully understand why. People start treating you with more respect, even without you doing anything. You feel a freedom you didn't have before, because you no longer need anything from anyone. Here's the difference. When you're someone who no longer needs approval, attention, or validation, you automatically become someone people seek out. But to get here, you need to leave behind everything that once made you dependent on the outside world. And that's what makes the difference between those who remain trapped in others' expectations and those who truly become unreachable. If you've made it this far, there's something you already know. Becoming someone everyone seeks out isn't an act of arrogance, but an act of personal power. It's understanding that no one has the right to control you, manipulate you, or make you feel less than what you are. It's taking command of your own life and establishing clear boundaries that no one can cross. People who master this level no longer play by others' rules. They don't seek approval. They don't ask permission to be who they are. And that's why the world treats them differently, because when you don't chase, you become the magnet. When you don't beg, you become the prize. When you don't explain yourself, you become a mystery. And mystery always attracts. When you adopt this mindset, your presence changes completely. You stop being someone who can be ignored or taken for granted. Relationships that didn't add to your life disappear. Only those who truly value your energy will stay. Opportunities come on their own because confidence is magnetic and people perceive it. You have peace of mind because you no longer wear yourself out trying to fit in or please everyone. But this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a decision you must make every day. Every time you want to react impulsively. Every time you feel the need to explain yourself. Every time you doubt your value. Remember, it's you who decides whether you remain accessible or whether you rise above all that. Your challenge from today is the following. Comment below with the following declaration to reaffirm your commitment to this change. I choose to be unreachable for anything that doesn't add to my life. My energy is valuable and I protect it. Let the world know that you're no longer the same person who used to need validation or attention. You're someone who respects yourself, who prioritizes yourself, and who isn't afraid to let go of what doesn't serve you. And when you do this, when you truly live it, you'll see how the world starts treating you the way you always deserved to be treated. Because being magnetic isn't about moving away from the world, it's about getting closer to your best version. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and share this video with someone who needs to hear these truths. See you in the next video.